अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरि ओम्। ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः। ओम नमो भगवते श्री रामकृष्णाय। The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Readings and Reflections. Chapter 7, page 163. Thursday, December 14th, 1882. It was afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on his bed after a short noonday rest. Vijay, Balaram, M, and a few other devotees were sitting on the floor, with their faces toward the master. They could see the sacred river Ganges through the door. Since it was winter, all were wrapped up in warm clothes. Vijay had been suffering from colic and had brought some medicine with him. Vijay was a paid preacher in the Sadharan Brahma Samaj, but there were many things about which he could not agree with the Samaj authorities. He came from a very noble family of Bengal, noted for its piety and other spiritual qualities. Advaita Goswami, one of his remote ancestors, had been an intimate companion of Sri Chaitanya. Thus, the blood of a great lover of God flowed in Vijay's veins. As an adherent of the Brahma Samaj, Vijay no doubt meditated on the formless Brahman, but his innate love of God, inherited from his distinguished ancestors, had merely been waiting for the proper time to manifest itself in all its sweetness. Thus Vijay was irresistibly attracted by the God-intoxicated state of Sri Ramakrishna, and often sought his company. He would listen to the master's words with great respect, and they would dance together in an ecstasy of divine love. It was a weekday. Generally, devotees came to the master in large numbers on Sundays. Hence, those who wanted to have intimate talks with him visited him on weekdays. A boy named Vishnu, living in Aryadaha, had recently committed suicide by cutting his throat with a razor. The talk turned to him. Master, I felt very badly when I heard of the boy's passing away. He was a pupil in a school and he used to come here. He would often say to me that he couldn't enjoy worldly life. He had lived with some relatives in the western provinces and at that time used to meditate in solitude in the meadows, hills, and forests. He told me he had visions of many divine forms. Perhaps this was his last birth. He must have finished most of his duties in his previous birth. The little that had been left undone was perhaps finished in this one. One must admit the existence of tendencies inherited from previous births. There is a story about a man who practiced the Shava Sadhana, a religious practice prescribed by the Tantra, in which the aspirant uses a shava or corpse as his seat for meditation. He worshipped the Divine Mother in a deep forest. First, he saw many terrible visions. Finally, a tiger attacked and killed him. Another man, happening to pass and seeing the approach of the tiger, had climbed a tree. Afterwards, he got down and found all the arrangements for worship at hand. He performed some purifying ceremonies and seated himself on the corpse. No sooner had he done a little japa than the Divine Mother appeared before him and said, "My child, I am very much pleased with you. Accept a boon from me." He bowed low at the lotus feet of the goddess and said, "May I ask you one question, Mother?" I am speechless with amazement at your action. The other man worked so hard to get the ingredients for your worship and tried to propitiate you for such a long time, but you didn't condescend to show him your favor. And I, who don't know anything of worship, who have done nothing, who have neither devotion nor knowledge nor love, and who haven't practiced any austerities, am receiving so much of your grace? The Divine Mother said with a laugh, "My child, you don't remember your previous births. For many births you tried to propitiate me through austerities. As a result of those austerities, all these things have come to hand, and you have been blessed with my vision. Now ask me your boon." A devotee: "I am frightened to hear of the suicide." Master: "Suicide is a heinous sin, undoubtedly. A man who kills himself must return again and again to this world and suffer its agony. But I don't call it suicide if a person leaves his body after having the vision of God. There is no harm in giving up one's body that way. After attaining knowledge, some people give up their bodies. After the gold image has been cast in the clay mold, you may either preserve the mold or break it. Many years ago, a young man of about 20 used to come to the temple garden from Baranagar. His name was Gopal Chen. In my presence, he used to experience such intense ecstasy that Hriday had to support him for fear he might fall to the ground and break his limbs. That young man touched my feet one day and said, 'Sir, I shall not be able to see you anymore. Let me bid you goodbye.' A few days later, I learnt that he had given up his body. It is said that there are 4 classes of human beings: the bound, those aspiring after liberation, the liberated, and the ever perfect. This world is like a fishing net. Men are the fish, and God, whose Maya has created this world, is the fisherman. When the fish are entangled in the net, some of them try to tear through the meshes in order to get their liberation. They are like the men striving after liberation. But by no means all of them escape. Only a few jump out of the net with a loud splash, and then people say, "Ah, there goes a big one." In like manner, 3 or 4 men attain liberation. Again, some fish are so careful by nature that they are never caught in the net. Some beings of the ever perfect class, like Narada. Are never entangled in the meshes of worldliness. Most of the fish are trapped, but they are not conscious of the net and of their imminent death. No sooner are they entangled than they run headlong, net and all, trying to hide themselves in the mud. They don't make the least effort to get free. On the contrary, they go deeper and deeper into the mud. Those fish are like the bound men. They are still inside the net, but they think they are quite safe there. A bound creature is immersed in worldliness, in woman and gold, having gone deep into the mire of degradation. But still, he believes he is quite happy and secure. The liberated and the seekers after liberation look on the world as a deep well. They do not enjoy it. Therefore, after the attainment of knowledge, the realization of God, some give up their bodies, but such a thing is rare indeed. The bound creatures, entangled in worldliness, will not come to their senses at all. They suffer so much misery and agony. They face so many dangers, and yet they will not wake up. The camel loves to eat thorny bushes. The more it eats the thorns, the more the blood gushes from its mouth. Still, it must eat thorny plants and will never give them up. The man of worldly nature suffers so much sorrow and affliction, but he forgets it all in a few days and begins his old life over again. Suppose a man has lost his wife or she has turned unfaithful. Lo, he marries again. Or take the instance of a mother. Her son dies and she suffers bitter grief. But after a few days, she forgets all about it. The mother, so overwhelmed with sorrow a few days before, now attends to her toilet and puts on her jewelry. A father becomes bankrupt through the marriage of his daughters. Yet he goes on having children year after year. People are ruined by litigation, yet they go to court all the same. There are men who cannot feed the children they have, who cannot clothe them or provide decent shelter for them, yet they have more children every year. Again, the worldly man is like a snake trying to swallow a mole. The snake can neither swallow the mole nor give it up. The bound soul may have realized that there is no substance to the world, that the world is like a hog plum, only stone and skin, but still he cannot give it up and turn his mind to God. I once met a relative of Keshav's, 50 years old. He was playing cards, as if the time had not yet come for him to think of God. There is another characteristic of the bound soul. If you remove him from his worldly surroundings to a spiritual environment, he will pine away. The worm that grows in filth feels very happy there. It thrives in filth. It will die if you put it in a pot of rice. All remain silent. Vijay, what must the bound soul's condition of mind be in order to achieve liberation? Master, he can free himself from attachment if by the grace of God he cultivates a spirit of strong renunciation. What is this strong renunciation? One who has only a mild spirit of renunciation says, well, all will happen in the course of time. Let me now simply repeat the name of God. But a man possessed of a strong spirit of renunciation feels restless for God, as a mother feels for her own child. A man of strong renunciation seeks nothing but God. He regards the world as a deep well and feels as if you are going to be drowned in it. He looks on his relatives as venomous snakes. He wants to fly away from them. And he does go away. He never thinks, let me first make some arrangement for my family and then I shall think of God. He has great inward resolution. You may wonder, these passages seem to be ringing bell in my mind that we have done it earlier. But then the page mark has been misplaced, you see. So that's what came to me. That means I take it as Sri Guru Maharaj's intention that they should be reread further. Because we are finding some very nice comments in the YouTube channel of the Vedanta Society. If you happen to open it and just click subscribe and put your email, then you can see all the comments there. And it's very nice to see the comments also, you see. One gentleman has written, he is from UK, he says, I am hearing this peace chant, the Shanti mantra, so where I can learn exact pronunciation of the Shanti mantras. So I sent him a link of our Swami's chanting, and then he was very pleased to have all the chanting so that he can practice in his home, putting it on. So like that, there are many questions also come, and some people write separate emails also to the Vedanta Society. It's nice to see people are active in that way. And it seems that that is the nature. I think people are, instead of coming to the ashram and sitting before the Swami and hearing, they're very happy to listen in the YouTube. And then they say, okay. And this is a long distance education, like, people are, because of this virus, problem is all the schools and colleges, universities are closed. And all the children are asked to have an online education now.
Yeah.
So even in spiritual field, we find people are happy to put on the online education and learn. So here you find, but I will go little, only half an hour time is there, so I will go little deeper into this aspect of the committing suicide. This is a very strange thing that is happening in the world, because we find generally people are fond of their keeping the life. Nobody would like to die. That is what we say. In Vedanti point of view, we explain the attachment to life as something much deeper level, we think. Because if you lie down and close your eyes and you think, I am dead, can you think, I am dead? You can't. Because you are Sat. You are always existence. In absolute terms of Vedanta, that you are Sat. So you can never think that you are dead. You are always thinking you are living. And it is true, you live eternally. That is what Vedanta says. So, but then, apart from this, those who are bound souls, as Sri Ramakrishna calls them, that bound souls are very much attached to the life. They don't want to leave the life. But in spite of this common characteristic of human being, that being attached to the life, you find some people commit suicide. And the statistics, if you see, it's very terribly upsetting statistics are coming out nowadays. Because in the olden days, committing suicide was not recorded anywhere. But nowadays, people do post-mortem, police do post-mortem and find out whether it was a murder or it was a suicide. And they can easily find out. So all the dead bodies found anywhere, the police seizes and then they send the bodies for the post-mortem and they can find out. So the statistics are slowly coming out. Some of the advanced countries, we find the number of suicide is more than some of the poorest countries. So there are many sociologists who try to analyze all these factors and try to find out what makes a man to commit the last step of committing suicide. That means he must have exhausted all the steps that are needed to keep his body and mind alive. That means there is no other way. He has been just dragged to the wall and he doesn't know what to do. And when he is completely upset and there is no other option available to him, then he commits suicide. So this type of examples we find coming up long. See, we find it's very sad to think about that, and when that type of suicide news comes from our own known friends and relatives, etc., then it hurts us very much. Oh, what a thing, that boy I knew so much and he committed suicide. Like that we wonder. So Sri Ramakrishna has been always telling that committing suicide is a heinous crime. It's a heinous sin. It's a papa, and it is a terrific papa. That means it is a papa that cannot be done. We find in some other places, in one place in Vrindavan, Swami Brahmananji and Turiyananji were sitting and they were doing meditation. They stayed in one dilapidated building. They took one room and then they stayed there. And every day Turiyananji used to go for bhiksha. And they were together traveling, Vrindavan and Ayodhya, etc. They were traveling at the time, both of them. And Turiyananji used to go out and take bhiksha, and then whatever he has on the day, he would bring and feed Brahmananji. And Brahmananji's experience there, he says, one day he used to meditate exactly at 12 o'clock, he would sit for meditation in the night. And Brahmananji will not go out anywhere for bhiksha. It was the junior that Turiyananda used to go and bring food for him. And there was no complaint also from both of them. Whatever comes, it's okay. Now they are doing tapasya. And one day Brahmananji is telling to Turiyananda next day that, do you know, Hari, yesterday I had a strange experience. I said, what was that strange experience yesterday night? He says, I was doing the meditation. At 12 o'clock I came, sat there, thought about Sri Ramakrishna and started meditation. And after some time, I heard somebody is calling me. I said, who is calling me? Then I opened. It's all dark. And I'm looking at four sides. Nobody is there. Suddenly my eyes went to the top, the ventilation. I found a ghost sitting there. And that ghost is telling me, looking at me, and is telling me, Maharaj, Maharaj, Maharaj. It is slowly calling me. And I could understand it is calling me. Then I looked at it. Then it says, Maharaj, I am suffering too much in this subtle body. Then I asked that ghost, what did you do to get this situation? I committed suicide. Please do something so that I am released from this situation. So immediately Brahmanji took water in his hand and thought of Sri Ramakrishna and put the name and sprinkled on it, and it vanished. And never it came. So it is said that if you commit suicide, what happens? There is already a fixed ayush, that is the life span, as we call it. The lifespan has been fixed. When you are born, you are supposed to die on such and such a day. Now, who fixes this? So it's very interesting. Some people say, those who are interested in mythology, they will say, Lord Brahma writes on your head. On your forehead he writes. So when a baby is going to be born, Lord Brahma comes into the womb of the mother and he writes. Say 72. Say somebody writes 56. Somebody writes 3. Somebody writes even before birth also dying. So all these things written by Lord Brahma. So some people believe that, okay, you believe, no problem with that. But then the yoga, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras give another type of interpretation. They say the next lives, the span of my life is decided by none other than myself. I only decide now, in the next life, next birth, how many years I am going to live. How it is calculated? It is calculated not on the basis of the years of life that you are spending. We are all very habituated to think of a man's age in terms of years. Is it not? In English calendar year, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we count like that. So if you are born in 1970, then today is 2020. So you understand that, how many years have gone. So like that we count on the basis of the years. But the Bhashyakara, the explaining the Yoga Sutras, they write, one of the greatest men in yoga theosophy we find, that one Hariharananda Aranya, Swami. He wrote a very good commentary. And that commentary is a textbook in Calcutta University. So that book is available also even now. And there he says that our lifespan is decided by us not according to the number of years, but according to the number of breaths that you are going to take. Prana. So how many breaths you are going to have, life depends upon that. So if you want, you can extend your life, or if you want, you can reduce the lifespan also. How? Say suppose I have got 10 million pranas. I am taking, inhaling and exhaling. This is called one prana. So if one prana like that, 10 million pranas is my life that I have decided. And then the next birth, I can extend it also. If I do not spend the 10 million, within that, say in English calendar account, say 40 years, then what happens? The life is extended because I have not completed the 10 million prana. So it's a very wonderful concept. When you read that, you find it's something new that we learn. Not according to the life years that our lifespan depends upon. It depends upon the prana that you have. So if you are a yogi in this birth and you do the pranayama regularly and you control your prana, and at the time of leaving the body, you have decided how many pranas you are going to have. So when you do pranayama, the power to do more pranayama is ignited within you. I may not be able to do in this life perhaps, because this life has been decided by my previous birth. So I have got no power to reduce or increase, because that has been decided. Now I have become a yogi. Now I want to do pranayama. Now I am practicing pranayama. So next life I can definitely improve upon. So this life is, I have myself decided how many lives I am going to live. I myself decide, according to the Mahabharata, a jiva decides in which house it should be born. So if you are born to a particular family, it is not by accidents. It is you have willed, you have chosen your mother and father because you felt at that time that if I am born in this family, I will get certain plus and certain minuses also you get according to your karma. So my karma to these people, what I owe, I will have to give them back. Or what I am due from them in the previous life, that will be now repaid in this life by the parents. So it's very highly complicated. This karma, law of karma, it's not simply he who sows, he reaps. That's a very simple way of putting it. But it is underneath. Underneath it has got a lot of complication. So there are why a person is born poor, why a person is born rich, why a person has got siblings, why a person doesn't have siblings, why a person is sickly, why a person is healthy. All these things, if you go into that and if you try to analyze it, you will find out that this law of karma plays a very big part and it is a highly complicated matter. So when you look into that, even a glimpse of this complication, if you want to know, I suggest you to read Many Mansions by Gina Serminara. It's a wonderful book, small book only. It can be easily read. Now you all have excellent time to read books. So you can try to get the book online and then read it. You will find it, some of these aspects of law of karma, she has dealt in that book. And she has taken the law of karma as per Hinduism, as per Buddhism. She has combined these two law of karma principles and she has tried to explain these type of questions. Why a person is celibate in his life? Why a person enters into wedded life? Why a couple doesn't have any child? All these complicated questions in life we find, you can't just get an answer like that. You go and ask somebody, if you are childless, you go and ask somebody, I don't have a child, what is the reason? He can't say. But behind this aspect of life, there is something deeper in the previous life that we have done. So certain questions cannot be answered in this life scientifically because we do not know what is the cause. If you want to know the cause, you have to go back to the previous life. And those saints who can see your past birth, they can only tell you that you have done such a certain thing, like that. So even during the hypnotism also they putting the patient into hypnotic state and ask the patient to repeat. That is how Gina Servinara learnt from her master. That her master was Dr. Edgar Casey. So Casey was a doctor. He was just an allopathy doctor. And he used to ask people, and he was a very good pious Christian. He had great faith in Lord Jesus. And he used to ask the patients, why you are suffering like this, like this. And the patient he would put the patient into hypnotism stage and then he would ask them. And the patient would bring out something he did at the age of 15. And now at the 70th year he is suffering. Now at the age of 15 he has said something and that is recorded by him. When the patient gets up from hypnotic state, he will play it and the patient will understand, oh, I have told like this, but I could never remember in the conscious mind. But from the hypnotic state, I could remember what I did at so many years back. Immediately, the back pain or the lower leg pain or whatever he is suffering from is gone. So in that way, he used to make curative efforts for the patients. Now this Serminara, who was assistant to him, she asked him, sir, some patients are not cured at all by you. They go back without any cure. Why don't you ask them? She prodded him. Why don't you ask them, go back into your previous life? Then, as usual, a Christian doesn't believe in the previous birth. So he said, no, there is no previous birth. He just brushed it aside. But then, seeing some patients not getting cured, he was curious. Okay, let me ask. So one patient was like that. So he asked the patient. And the patient went into past birth. And he said, yes, I had past birth. And in the past birth, I did certain sinful acts. And those sinful acts and the present suffering could be correlated. Can you correlate the cause and effect? He could do it. Because he was a wise, religious person, he could correlate. For instance, you get boils in your tongue. So in one of the scriptures in Tamil says that if you get boils in your tongue, you have abused your tongue. Then the tongue, in a healthy condition, should not be with you. That is the law of karma. If you misuse or if you abuse any of your organs, and you will be given back. Because God says that, oh, you are abusing this power that I gave you. Now this power will be withdrawn from you. Then you become disabled. So like this, it's a highly complicated, the law of karma. And he goes into these things and she writes all those things from what she saw. And surprisingly, those patients also got some cure. So she says in her book, that's why I tell you of Swami Bhajananandji. It's a very evolved, highly evolved soul in Belur Math. If you go to Belur Math, you must try to take appointment with him and meet him. At least stay with him for half an hour. Sit with him and look at his face and listen to him simply. You don't even need to ask any question. You will find what a tremendous change comes upon you. So I was with him for 3 months in Mayavati. And lot of things he told me. He said, look, this book, Many Mansions, should be read by every spiritual aspirant. He told me. And I noted down in my notes at the time. And then when I came to Calcutta, then I got the book. So you find that such wonderful things are there, and law of karma is not as simple as we think of. So it is highly complicated, and this complication comes. But the people who are committing suicide, Sri Ramakrishna says, they have to suffer in the next life. So if you don't believe in the previous life and the next life, of course I have nothing to say to you. But Sri Ramakrishna himself says that in the next life one has to suffer. And that is what happening to people. And the sufferings cannot be correlated with their causes. So he says it is a heinous sin. But then we do find some of the saints leaving their body. Even his own guru, Totapuri, when he suffered from the very high stomach pain, he wanted to leave the body. And in the scriptures, there is an exemption given to such type of people from the suicide sin. So it is definitely a sinful act. But then those people who have realized God, who have attained samadhi, they can leave the body at any time they wish. Or they can keep up the body also till their previous birth past prarabdha karma runs on. Suppose a man has realized God today and his prarabdha karma is going to take him another for 2 years. So he can keep the body for 2 years and leave the body at the right time when it comes. Or he can leave tomorrow also. Even if he leaves tomorrow, it is not considered as suicide. So when a mold is there and you make something with the help of the mold, and what article you want that has come out now, the mold is mold. So the body is like that. After the attainment of realization of God, the body is like a mold. Now whether you can keep it or you can break it. So there is no sin in that for such people. And he tells about this boy, this Vishnu. And when he heard that, when Master heard that this boy had committed suicide, he was very, very sad. And he himself says, I felt very badly when I heard of the boy's passing away. But then he is not telling that he has done a wrong thing. He says he used to come to me and he used to go to western parts of the country, and then he would go and sit for meditation in solitude, in forest, hills, meadows, etc. And he told me he had many visions of divine forms. That means he has a realized soul. So he has left his body. This, and then another boy also, he says, another boy used to come to me and he also left like that. And he came and he took leave of me. That is one of the important thing. That boy has decided he will leave the body, and he came and took leave of him. Sir, I am leaving, and this is the last time I am shouting. I shall not be able to see you anymore. Let me bid you goodbye, he said. Durga, Durga, she told him. And he went away. A few days later, I learned that he had given up his body. So, the people who have the vision of God, they can keep the body till their prarabdha runs, or they can put a stop to the body performance. So this also has been approved in the scriptures. But for general people who have not had the divine visions, they should not commit suicide. And that is a very terrible effect, after effect is there. And because not only after effect to that particular individual jiva, the individual soul, but also to how much hardship to the family members and to everyone around him. And what a terrible thing, we have seen some of the suicide cases, and those families used to come to us. And yes, I have seen very bad. I used to pray for a whole night for the family's peace of mind, because it's very difficult to get peace of mind, in that family. And they can never come to the conclusion that why this boy went away, why my husband committed, why my wife committed. These things, the relationships are there, and you can never resolve that till their death. That means how much a suiciding person or a person who is committing suicide is giving trouble to others who are living. Though they are living only for this simply namesake living, but they are already dead, as it were. So, that's why he says, heinous sin. A man who kills himself must return again and again into this world and suffer its agony. This agony has to be suffered. Even otherwise also, if you don't commit suicide, till you get moksha, you have to come and return again and again. Yes, that is true. But then in this case, you have to suffer the agony. In the normal death, no such agony is going to come. I have heard about some people, how wonderfully they left their body. In Ranchi, one devotee just rang up. So, Maharaj, I am just finishing my office. My mother is admitted in a hospital and she wants to see you. Can you come? I said, oh yes. It's a serious condition. Definitely I will come. So, I took our car and then went to the hospital. And then she was smilingly. She was lying down in the hospital bed, and next to the bed there was a stool. And she told me to sit. So I sat her. Then I held her hand and said, Ma, what has happened to you? Are you okay? Your son rang me up and said he wants me to come. I only told him I wanted to see you. I wanted one small help from you. I said, what is that help? He said, there you see, Holy Mother's picture is kept. Can you take it and put me on my chest and hold the picture in your hands? I want to leave the body. I was stunned. She's telling as if it's a very ordinary thing. Can anyone say like that? Great Swamis I have seen like that. Tomorrow I am leaving my body at 5 p.m. One Swami told me in Seva Pratishthan. And exactly he left at 5 p.m. So these type of things I have seen. So this lady, when she said, I am going to leave my body, I was stunned. Anyway, I took the picture, kept on her chest and holding it. And then she was looking at the Holy Mother's picture. Suddenly tears came from her eyes and one deep breathing, she stopped. And the son said, Maharaj, what a great blessing. I said, never weep for her. She is not dead like an ordinary human being. She has thought of Holy Mother at the time of death. What do you think? You are going to get it in the next birth. That is what Gita says. So she has thought of the Holy Mother and she left her last breath. And she called me for that. So that's what a wonderful thing. So never weep for her. No, never cry. But then how you can, a son has to cry, So he started crying for his mother. But then that apart, You see, so people who are having this normal death, how wonderful it is. It's a great blessing. And they are not going to suffer agony in the next birth. That is the difference between committing suicide and leaving your body, keeping the body according to the prarabdha. Some saints are said, some Jaina saints, they also believe in the law of karma. The Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism. And some of the Eastern religions in the Southeast Asia, they also believe in law of karma. You find that this law of karma, according to Jains also, Jain Munis, they will suffer and suffer and suffer, but they say for that, let the prarabdha complete its course of effects. I have done some karmas in the past birth, and that is now tiring me and making me suffer physically, but let it complete. I am not going to worry. I am not going to cry. I am not going to do anything. There was a nun from Sarada Math who, when I was in Seva Pratishthan, she was admitted. So every day I used to go to her room, that is cabin, and I would ask, Ma, how are you? Are you okay today? Yes, my dear child, I am quite okay. She would tell me, because she is quite an elderly lady. And then she was the sister of Swami Atmasthananji. And when I used to talk to the doctor, I used to ask him, how is the Mataji? She was a very smiling face, and whenever I go, she would say, yes, I am happy, I am fine. But she is kept here still in the hospital. She is not discharged. If she is fine, what is happening? To the doctor, I said. He said, Maharaj, what I can tell about her? This lady, such a grand faith she has got on Holy Mother and Ramakrishna, etc. She says, whatever prarabdha is there, I am suffering, and that suffering is only to the body, not to my mind. Mentally, I am absolutely happy. I am quite normal. I have got nothing. If the body is suffering, I can look at the body and I can enjoy the body's sufferings. I say, body, hey, oh my body, you are now suffering. You have got pain. But then, let you have this pain. Okay, because you did something wrong. And I used to tell my mind like that. And he said, Maharaj, we know medically she must be having the severest of the severe pain. But she never tells outside. Such people also, and she passed away there. So you can see, if the passing of the say, they continue their body, maintain the body, till the prarabdha is finished. So some people leave their body like that. But committing suicide is absolutely unwarranted. It is not to be at all encouraged, not to be even, people have to be told. In one of the classes in South Africa, I went there. It's called Newcastle Center. And then they told me, Maharaj, suddenly there was a school results come out, class 10 or 12 results come out. You find suddenly there is a spurt of increase in the incidence of pupils committing suicide. Somebody has failed, and their children commit suicide. So that number also increases. And on that year, there were 22 students committed suicide. It was a very big number for South Africa. And of them, Indian students were there and African students were there. So it was a big scare has come among the parents. And parents are afraid to tell anything to the children. Because if you say anything, they will take that final action. So they are very much surprised. And then they told me, Maharaj, will you please speak on that? So about 1.5 hours I spoke. And we had question answer session. And then after coming out, one young girl, she has finished school and she failed. She said, Maharaj, tomorrow I had planned to commit suicide. But I have revised my opinion. I shall not commit suicide, she said. I was so happy. At least one person I could stop from committing suicide. So you find that how it is necessary, the knowledge of the Sukshma Sarira within you, the subtle body within you has got no destruction until it gets moksha. And the subtle body will go on taking new and newer births after. How much suffering one has to undergo. If these things are told to the children and children understand, oh, this is not the end. So if you have a problem, by committing suicide you think the problem is over. No, the problem actually is going to increase further. Not only this problem remains unresolved in this birth, and later another, the agony also must continue. And this, what problem not resolved now, will come and catch you in the next birth. So wherever you go, it's like a Ram barn. You know how Ram's barn, that is the arrow of Rama, went on, and it went on behind that Kakasura. So like that, goes on. So when you must understand the previous birth, whatever action we have done, and the results must come to us. By just removing this body is not an answer. Because again we have to take the body. And again the same thing will come in the next birth. That's why unrelated effects also come in some people's lives. And they wonder, has happened? This type of effect I am not supposed to get at all. From childhood onwards I am quite a good man. He thinks, but he doesn't know what was in the past. So the law of karma, as I said, it's a highly complicated one, and it requires hours and hours of discussion for this particular topic itself. But then let us see here what Sri Ramakrishna says. Let us go by that. A devotee said, I am frightened to hear of the suicide. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, suicide is a heinous sin. Undoubtedly, there is no doubt at all. That means you can never question this. This is the maxim. A man who kills himself must return again and again to this world and suffer his agony. So let us try to understand that what the law of karma, prarabdha karma, how it can take you, and it should be allowed to be suffered in this life itself. Then we are finishing it off. So with these few words, let us continue for the next. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampaadrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.